On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Loather by Ghostbath. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal and we like to talk about it. And today is a long overdue discussion of Ghostbath's Loather. If you're wondering, why is it so long overdue? Well, it's because Ghostbath is a black metal or black metal adjacent band from our hometown right here.
Minot, North Dakota.
Minot, North Dakota. And they're, a nationally and internationally touring band signed to Nuclear Blast. And it's weird to think about that. Like, oh yeah, those guys are from here. They're from around here.
Right. And not China.
And yes, and not China.
Right.
That was a weird thing early in their career where they marketed themselves as being from China for some reason. And it was part of the mystique of their earliest work of being like, wow, there's a band like this from China. That's crazy. No, they're from Minot, North Dakota.
Which still you would say, wow,
yeah.
there's a band like this from Minot, North Dakota.
Being from China has a certain mystique to it.
Sure.
That being from Minot definitely does not.
It's a different mystique, though, because most of the people on the earth, if you say Minot, North Dakota, maybe you just spoke in Martian.
Which, speaking of North Dakota and speaking of Martian, I told you about a phone call
Yes,
that
you did.
I got yesterday that I want to talk about again here because it's just a fucking bizarre story. So we both work at the same radio. If you're a new listener and you're like, what are these guys? These professional, we work at the same radio station.
Yeah.
And there's the North Dakota State Fair is going on at the moment, and so OJ has been out there broadcasting live in the afternoons in the I was gonna say in the heat, but it hasn't been that bad this week.
It had. Well, I mean, Saturday was hot, but otherwise it's been like in the 70s. The only issue has been the direct sunlight. I mean, I don't like direct sunlight ever.
And tomorrow's going to be a little bit warmer. And then the last day when I get to be out there, it's going to be in the fucking 90s.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's going to be hot for us. Oh, wait, no, it's not. I'm not going to be out
You're
there.
You're not going to be out there. Congratulations. But in any case, so
I will be out there.
Throughout the week, I have been for, certain periods of the day completely alone in the building.
Right.
And today and tomorrow,
right.
I have been and will be alone for the entire afternoon, basically.
And he has to remind himself about what time he has to put pants back on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call yesterday on the business line from this guy with the thickest North Dakota accent I've ever heard and the loudest speaking voice I have ever heard. The man was just screaming into his phone and absolutely distorting the ever-living shit out of it. And all I could make out was that he was seemingly upset about something to do with the Norsk Høstfest, or if you were this man or people's grandparents, the Norska Høstfest.
You're right. If you're faking a Swedish accent,
yes,
that's how you would say that.
Like I didn't realize there were people who unironically said it that way.
Sure.
I've only ever heard people in my life pronounce it that way as a bit. Otherwise, everyone just says the Høstfest.
Right. I've heard if somebody says Høstfest, it's usually followed up by Bork, Bork, Bork.
Exactly.
Right.
And by the way, this is a very local thing. If you don't, it's a very North Dakota thing. If you don't know what that is, it's a Scandinavian Heritage Festival.
It's the largest Scandinavian Heritage Festival in the United North America.
Indeed it is, because there are so many other Scandinavian Heritage Festivals across North America. But it's a big deal here in town.
Right.
And what I was eventually able to gather is that Toby Keith was going to be performing at the State Fair, but he is no longer performing. At the
Høstfest.
There are two big things that happen in this town, and they're both just jam-packed with white people. But
Like the rest of the state.
Like the rest of the state. I mean, not jam packed.
No,
there's not that many.
No, we're pretty spread out.
It's
here.
a pretty big place, and there's not that many.
Yeah.
But the proportion's way larger. But all that is to say, where was I at in the story? Oh, that Toby Keith was going to be performing at the Hustfest.
Right.
And he is no longer performing at the Hustfest because he was diagnosed with cancer. He's going to be undergoing treatment. Mm-hmm. I wasn't aware of that because I'm not hooked into country music news. And also, I haven't heard anything about the Hustfest lately because it's not coming up for another 3 months.
Right.
So we haven't had people however long it is. We haven't had people in to interview about it for a while since it was announced that they're doing it this year.
Right, because they haven't done it for the last 2 years.
Yeah, and the ownership changed hands and that sort of thing. But like I wasn't aware of that. But this guy was just like, do you know about the guy who was gonna be performing there at the Norska Hustefest? He's not gonna be because he's undergoing the cancer treatments. I was just like, what the fuck? Like that, but even more unintelligible. There might be a filter in Audition that I can put over that, but just like he was so fucking loud and unintelligible, and I have so much trouble understanding anybody over the phone.
Right.
It's like a weird, disability that I have where if I'm talking to someone over the phone, they can repeat a thing over and over again and say it clearly.
Right.
And I still will not understand them. And I will eventually just go, yeah, okay.
Whatever you say.
And fake it. And pretend that I got it.
So now you know if you want to steal all of Kale's money.
Uh-huh.
I forgot your name for a moment.
Oh no.
Well, I was gonna.
You've got fair brain. It's all right.
I got my brain is baked because of the sun out in the fair, and I almost called you Toby Keith.
No, I almost. I'm about to get real conservative.
But yeah.
But also smoke weed with Willie Nelson. So.
Sure. Well, he said he'd never do that again.
Oh, that's true. I wonder if he's done it again.
I'm sure he has.
Yeah. I mean, if Willie offers.
If Willie shows up and says, we're smoking weed, I guess I'm calling in.
Yeah.
We're not going to work today, so.
Willie Nelson passes you the boof.
Yeah.
You don't say no.
You don't say no. I mean, it doesn't matter anyway. If you're in the room, like the contact high.
You will.
You're about to get high anyway.
Willie Nelson has entered your periphery.
Yeah.
You are now high on THC.
Yeah. The man that Snoop Dogg said, he's got some good shit.
But yeah, I eventually just hung up. I didn't just hang up on the guy, but I was just like, well, sir, that's, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'll pass it along to our country DJs. And he was like, I'm so surprised you haven't heard that. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm a rock DJ.
Right.
I work on the classic rock station, so I'm not hooked into that sort of news. And I, the other DJ that was in the building got back from running some errands, and I told her, I was just like, hey, this weird guy called and he might call back because I said, the other country DJ is out for the moment, but she'll be back. And she's like, I kind of want to talk to this guy. And she got her wish. And I could hear him from the other room through the phone. And then also, when I was telling her that story and I was talking about one of our other regular callers, our second regular caller, which is damn right.
Damn right.
I can never understand a goddamn word he says. Do you have like some kind of superpower when it comes to understanding him, or do you just fake it really well?
Here's the deal. I've just known him so long because he used to come in and play bingo at the bar I dealt blackjack at, and he would come in there and he was kind of a weird asshole there too. and here's the funny.
It kind of seems like maybe he's just a weird asshole.
Yeah, that's what it is. And then eventually I got to the point where like, I kind of admire the guy a little bit.
You can't help but just sort of like him a little.
Yeah, eventually it's some sort of like Stockholm syndrome in some way. He's captured you on the phone. It's like, yeah, he's weird and crazy, and I kind of dig that.
I can't miss out on this. He might say something incredibly weird and crazy.
He's this old man. He's
like Alex Jones. You don't want to listen to him.
What is he gonna say?
But you can't stop.
Yeah, once you're there, I mean, like, damn right, he comes in, and I think maybe he's had like a stroke or two or something like that. And I do know that he had a drinking problem until like 30 years ago.
What? I would have guessed much
more recently.
Yeah. He quit much more recently.
Me too. I would have guessed that as well. In fact, when you find out, it was last year at the fair, he comes up to, damn right, and
you've got to be drunk right now.
Yeah. And so JD, the guy, our boss, he hands him we got these, bar certificates for a free drink that we're giving away, because that's a day sponsor at the fair. And so he hands him, you look like you might like a drink up at the bar. And he goes, no, haven't drank in 30 years. And I'm looking at Jay, and Jay's looking at me. He's like, what the fuck did he just say?
Absolutely incredulous.
He doesn't drink.
Oh my God.
That's a sober man right there.
What's the fucking Kyle Kinane joke? Just like, it's like people who dance without alcohol at weddings.
Yeah.
You get away from me, baby eater. Haven't had a drop in 30 years. Don't like losing control.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting times.
Yeah.
Working at a fairly small town radio station.
It is.
It can be interesting.
It can be very interesting.
I mean, the fair has been the big thing that's going on. Your sister's.
My sister's
You've been
here.
hanging out a lot with your sister.
Yeah. And it's been great. She's been playing at the fair. She didn't play today. She's in Lignite tonight.
Okay.
She's playing in Lignite, North Dakota, and she'll come back and play the fair tomorrow. And then after she's done with her gig at the fair, she goes back to the Blue Rider, and she's going to play there again.
I like shows at the Blue Rider.
I do too.
They're fun.
And here's the funny thing: is one of the bartenders there. She was this really awesome, funny, cute girl that was really yucking it up with me and my sis. And so I tipped her really well. We had some drinks that night, and then I came back another night and the owner was there, and he's sitting there. She says, "Hey, you guys! Hey, do you know this guy?" And he's like, "Yeah, he was the guy who was the announcer at my wedding." And so, I was kind of supposed to be until his mom decided, hey, you were kind of working for us. You get free beer. And so
and then you weren't denouncing
And then
much.
I wasn't announcing much anymore. In fact, I was on a bicycle going over a bridge. I gotta get home before I go unconscious again.
But let me get on this bicycle.
Well, hey, I wasn't driving a car.
I mean, on one hand, one is far more likely to injure another person.
Right.
The other is far more likely to injure you.
Right, because if I get into a fight with a car, obviously I lose. But that's not even my biggest worry. My biggest worry is keeping the thing upright on a sidewalk.
Yes.
Yeah, I could spill over and just go ass over tea kettle into the cement and be done.
Although I think even for the bicycle, it would follow though that part of the reason why in DUI crashes, a lot of the drunk drivers end up surviving is because you go limp and that sort of thing.
Right.
I feel like that follows that also tracks for eating shit on a bicycle.
Probably what happens is you eat shit on a bicycle and then you wake up at home wondering how the fuck did I get home with my bicycle and why do I have all these scrapes on my face?
I can see though that you're probably less likely to put your hands out in time to stop you from smashing your head on the pavement though.
Right.
So maybe it kind of balances out.
Yeah.
The going limp thing, but also higher chances of severe head injury.
The same reason that drunk people, this is going to get real morbid here just for a moment.
Okay.
But this is actually statistics from my dad who was in law enforcement for 50, 60 years. He when you go you get into a car wreck when you're drunk, like you say, you go limp and you're less likely to stiffen up and therefore break bones or squish your internal organs.
Yep.
Same is true with babies.
Yeah.
He's been to plenty of scenes where a woman has lost her shit in a bathroom and pitched her baby at the wall, and the baby, makes it because the baby they don't
have
enough.
those reflexes yet.
They don't know how to stiffen up properly in the event of being chucked at a
children
concrete.
are kind of made of rubber too.
Well, yeah, babies are made of rubber.
Yeah, it's
Please don't.
It's
If
for
you're
the love
listening
of God,
right now, we are not saying it's okay.
Don't test that out.
Please don't test that out.
Your kids will get in enough trouble on their own.
Never, never, never pitch a baby.
Unless you're, wanting to have a child with your significant other and you're like, hey, baby,
Oh yeah, baby, that's
have
a pitch.
Have a pitch meeting about why you should have children.
Or if the baby's in a fire,
throw it out.
Throw the pitch the
throw
baby.
Throw the baby out. What about the bathwater?
Yeah, throw the bathwater. No, leave the bathwater in.
Throw the bathwater in.
The fire.
Throw the baby out.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Maybe look for somebody, downfield and say, "Go long,"
Okay.
But
God. It's a weird conversation. Speaking of like that, what was my mom? No,
where is this going?
About kids being resilient.
Oh, okay, sure.
My mom was telling me something about my nephew learning to, or was it my dad? I think it was my dad was telling me about one of my parents was telling me about my nephew learning to ride a bike, and he has like a little dirt bike or something. And he hasn't quite mastered the bicycle yet, but was like, I'm going to try the little dirt bike.
Okay.
And, wiped out, but immediately got up and was, I'm okay. It's just like, if there is literally any kid that I've ever met that would not be discouraged by falling off of any kind of vehicle, it's that kid.
Really?
Like he is so extremely involved in anything with wheels and gears, and he loves all that stuff.
Stick him to a rodeo once.
I think his parents absolutely. His dad has done like some dirt track racing.
Sure.
At least once. I don't know if he's done it again at all this summer or not, but I know he did that last summer.
Sure.
But yeah, he's they will take him to that sort of stuff. Absolutely. My other sister got him into battle bots as well, which was, on one hand, discovered something he's extremely into and extremely passionate about. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, he's a little kid. And sometimes when a little kid discovers something they're extremely into and extremely passionate about, as a parent, that can kind of get old pretty quick.
Yeah.
But
especially if they get experimental outside of the program.
Well, most of what he's done is he in the first week that he got shown that, he built like 50 different Lego battle bots.
Oh, see, that's cool.
He has a ton of Legos.
Lego battle bots are awesome.
Yeah, it's like it was absolutely perfect for him. It was the perfect show for him. It was a little too perfect. But but seriously, like you show any kid battle bots,
right?
They're gonna love that. What's not to like about robots beating the shit out of each other? It's fantastic.
Indeed. What is that on? Where can
Discovery Plus.
Discovery Plus. I do not have that.
Or just Discovery if you're, if you have cable or satellite or whatever.
Cable.
It's obviously Cably.
Cably.
The way people try to pronounce my name when they read it.
Right, Kaylee.
Yeah, obviously. L-E at the end of the word is Lee. There's so many other words with L-E at the end where you say it Lee. Like Cably and Tably.
See, names in this area, often when there's an L-E, or B-L-E is Blee.
Well, people in this area are stupid. Look at the news. It's hard to deny that.
Okay, I know. Especially when that Donald Penis. That guy. Heck, what an idiot that guy is.
I hadn't thought about Donald Penis in a little bit.
Did we talk about that last week?
I think we did.
Okay.
But yeah, if you didn't listen to last week, OJ wrote a fake news story and left it in the studio for me. And I personally read it. I did not read it on the air, but I personally read it and thought it was real, but acknowledged it would have been too funny for me to read on air. Like the thing that kept me from reading it on the air was that I would not have been able to stop laughing trying to read it.
Right. Because it said penis in there at least 3 times.
Yeah.
P-E-E-N-U-S.
Yes. So it's like vaguely believable that could be somebody's last name.
Right.
People have silly names. So it happens on occasion. It happens.
Penis was arrested by the Ward County Police. Penis is being
Donald Penis was arrested by the Ward County. See, if you had made it like the thing is that it was so restrained, you made it look so realistic though. Like if you had some like Donald Penis was placed inside a cage or something like that, then I would have caught on to, this is OJ wrote this as a joke.
I didn't want it to be that way.
Yeah, no, you were very, very clever about it. I'm still playing Hades, which I'm having a lot of fun with.
That looks like a fun game.
It's a very good game, very entertaining. It's just perfect for my brain. It's one of those things where I've discovered it has a really cool mechanic. Like, I've talked about how in Dark Souls, like dying is, and in Elden Ring and the vast majority of other
Bloodborne
games.
Yeah.
The dying is kind of the way that you sort of interact with the world and test the boundaries and figure out, what you can and cannot do. In Hades, like in theory, the penalty for death is much greater in the sense that you go back to literally the start of the game. Mm-hmm. There are permanent upgrades that you get, but you go back to where you started from. Mm-hmm.
And everything becomes the same again.
Yeah, everything resets, and it's randomized every time that you go in.
Wow.
There are different floors, but what you encounter, is more or less randomized. The rooms are randomized. The enemies in them are randomized, though they do generally ramp up in intensity.
Right.
But the thing that differentiates Hades from something like Dark Souls or Elden Ring is the fact that it can actually, depending upon like what items that you've picked up along the way, dying is actually like, oh, okay, because now you have a bunch of gifts to give to your buddies, because that's the way that you like interact with the NPCs is you pick up what's called nectar and you give it to them as like a gift, and then it unlocks like dialogue and stuff that you have with them. So like dying becomes, oh, well, now I get to go talk to Dusa and Achilles again. Like it's nice because I really like those characters, and it's like, oh, I have gifts to give them. It really takes the sting out of, dying, because you get to interact with these characters that are so entertaining and endearing. Like there is, I mentioned her name is Dusa. She's literally just a Gorgon head, implied to be actually Medusa's head, but she's the maid in the House of Hades, and her snake hair, holds, her dusting implements or whatever. And she has severe social anxiety, but also clearly has a massive crush on Zagreus. Sure. And so anytime you go to talk to her, she is just the most adorable thing ever. And she's just this cute floating head. And it's absolutely adorable. And then there's all the other characters. You go talk to Achilles and Hypnos, and Hades is always being a dick.
Is Achilles cool at all?
Achilles is really cool.
He is really cool. Is Bophides in there?
You're not going to get me with that one. You're not going to get me with that one.
Okay.
You can't trick me.
I think we've established, we've established I can't trick you.
Yeah, you can't trick me with that one.
Okay, right.
You can trick me with almost anything else, but you're not going to get me with Bophides.
What about Testicles?
That one's even more obvious. But yeah, also Orpheus is the court musician, and he's too sad to sing. And then in Asphodel, you can meet Eurydice, and part of their quest line is basically trying to get them to reconcile with each other. And I think there is going to be a similar quest line with Achilles and
whoops, there goes your
Achilles and Patroclus, who you can encounter in Elysium. But I like that stuff.
There was a movie called Elysium, wasn't there?
Yes, that was a Neil Blomkamp thing. But
Society in the Sky, that was above the Society on the Ground.
Jodie Foster doing an absolutely terrible French accent.
Sad, because Jodie Foster's usually pretty damn good at whatever.
Yeah, Jodie Foster's a good actress. She just had a really shitty French accent in that movie for no discernible reason. And Charlton Copley continued to be the best thing about any movie he's in. The guy's great. He's the best thing about pretty much everything he's ever appeared in.
He is. We all saw him the first time in District 9, or I think that was
pretty much. If you're not from South Africa, District 9 was probably the thing you saw him in first.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I dropped my.
Got your stylus. This is your second time in the last hour, so looking for that stylus. Your shit went flying over here. Hey, there's a dime on the floor.
Well,
I don't see your stylus anywhere.
And I fucked up the headphone thing.
Oh,
I broke everything.
A comedy of errors. Is it in your lap somewhere? Because it kind of flew around you. No?
No, I don't know. I didn't need it, but
it's fine.
I just wanted to hold it.
Yeah. It's a crutch.
It's a crutch. Do you want to talk about the album?
Yeah, let's talk about this album.
All right, so Ghost Bath is, I said that so North Dakota.
Ghost Bath.
Ghost Bath.
Don't you know?
They're from North Dakota. Oh, gosh.
Right here in Minot.
Right here in Minot, North Dakota. But yeah, Ghost Bath is an American, I would say in general, call them a post-black metal band.
Yeah.
I think that's the most appropriate thing to call them. Lots of post stuff, post metal, post black metal, some bits and pieces of post rock in there, all kinds of postmodern music, bro.
They don't really paint themselves into a corner here.
Yeah, they don't. But yeah, they've been around since, I think it was like 2009 or something like that.
Okay.
When they got together. I should have read a little bit more about these guys who are.
This is their most recent album, right?
Yes, this is their most recent album. It came out last year. I think relatively late last year as well. Give me a moment. Not Ghost Both.
Ghost Both. And by the way, the album is called Self-Loathing.
Yeah, Self-Loather.
Self-Loather. Yeah, right. Because I didn't
Self-Lather.
I thought it was Self-Lather. Because it's a Ghost Bath where you self-lather.
They were formed in 2012. That's my bad.
Gotcha. So 10 years they've been together.
Yes. And in that time, they have released 4 full-length albums, and there's one EP that they've released as well. It's Funeral, Moonlover, Star Mourner, and Self-Loather. Moonlover is probably their most well-known album. It's got some pretty interesting album art.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I've seen posted all over the place. It got a fair amount of attention. That was the album where it was like revealed, like, oh, these guys are Americans,
right?
And also drew a lot of comparisons to Deaf Heaven.
Oh, all right.
But I think usually they were like kind of mostly what I saw online was people going like, oh, this is Deaf Heaven. But if Deaf Heaven was bad, that was a lot of what it was, the conversation was online. And the thing is like Deaf Heaven was so dominant in any discussion of like post metal music at all for such a long time, whereas like I haven't even listened to their newest album because it's basically it's just like ambient post rock. I think
really
their newest album hardly has any metal on it to speak of, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. No. But like it's not what I went to that band for,
right?
And I think like I haven't really made an earnest attempt to listen to most of Ghost Bath's discography. Despite the fact that they're from here, because every time I've tried to listen to their recorded material before listening to this album, I just kind of deflected off of it. There was something about, like, I liked the instrumentation, but something about the vocals really threw me off. The majority of the vocals on most of their earlier work that I've tried to listen to has been this, high sort of keening wail that they have done. Which I think is a style of vocals that's more popular in like depressive suicidal black metal.
Sure.
Which is, yes, if you don't know, that is a genre.
Yeah.
That is like a micro genre of black metal is depressive suicidal black metal.
And this is,
I wonder what it's about.
This is called Self-Loather. So
yeah, it certainly takes some, some atmospheric influence from that. And I think that in general, they have been described as at the very least being on the fringes of that subgenre. But this I think there's so much more musical. There's so much more going on musically than just being sort of a sad black metal album.
Right.
And they've always brought in, throughout, because like most of the vast majority of my listening of their music, at least in one session, happened in one night at a live show here in town that they did. And a lot of the melodies and a lot of they bring in a lot of like sort of uplifting melodies at certain points in a lot of their songs. And not on the majority of the songs on this album, but certainly a couple of them bring in some swelling, more positive melodies into it, which sort of brings it out of that really depressive realm. And makes it something more akin to, what you hear on a lot of like black gaze bands. Like we listened to Numenorian a couple of years ago.
That was
which
great.
Is an album that I still go back to and listen to a lot. And that certainly has a couple of huge moments where they bring in, some swelling, positive, emotional feelings that I really like. This tends to be a little bit darker, a little bit more like a little more death metal influenced, a little more deathcore influenced in some places. There's some chugs in here.
There's some great chugs in there
that I wasn't really expecting to encounter. There's a guest vocalist here, which is CJ McMahon, who, if you don't know, is the vocalist for Australian deathcore band Thy Art Is Murder, which is like... It's hard to put like a big four on like modern metal genres because I feel like for like deathcore and metalcore and some of that sort of thing, genres like that, the bands that are popular change so often and so rapidly that it's hard to nail them down. But I think with deathcore, it's relatively safe to say that Thy Art Is Murder would probably be in the big four, along with like Whitechapel. I mean, even to this day, Suicide Silence, although they've really kind of fallen off, I think, with a lot of people.
Right.
They had kind of a disastrous album that came out where most fans were really unsatisfied with the production, and then the vocalist started acting like a complete shithead when it came to deflecting criticism of it. I think that lost them a lot of goodwill that they had garnered after their previous vocalist had passed away. But like like Thy Art Is Murder, Suicide Silence, Whitechapel, and I guess Chelsea Grin. Although I'm not super familiar with what they've been doing lately after they changed vocalists as well.
Right.
Their original vocalist, or their vocalist now, came from a band called Lorna Shore, which I've talked to you about.
Yes.
Their current vocalist is an absolute beast. And actually, I was thinking about just having you listen to like 6 songs of theirs that they've currently released. They did an EP that came out late last year or early this year with Will Ramos. And then they've got an album that's coming out in October, but they've released like 3 singles from that.
The Cookie Company. They're like a...
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Will Ramos, he's the guy we looked into like in a lab down his gullet.
Yeah, he recently did a YouTube video where they put a scope down his airway to take a look at his vocal folds while he was doing his thing, and it was nuts.
Yeah. They went too far down.
They went too far down, and they threw his airway.
and found his nuts.
Found his testicles in there somehow. It was crazy. But yeah, I was halfway thinking about like, what if we listened to that? But I decided on this instead, which I think was a fine choice because this is a good album. Do you think this album slaps?
Yeah.
Yes, this album absolutely does slap. There's hardly a moment where it doesn't slap, except for that one track that's just piano, which is a good track. That's called what is that track?
I Hope Death Finds Me Well.
Yes, I believe that's.
And by the way, I'm at the fair tonight, and my old neighbor Bob, who's an awesome dude and the vocalist in a band called Opposition Out.
Yes, who I have also seen. They opened for Ghost Bath that night.
He was talking about that, and his friend who's wearing a Ghost Bath t-shirt, and I said, cool, we're going to talk about them at the podcast. And he said, they're friends of mine.
Oh,
cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're from here.
Of course, yeah.
So, yeah, of course they'd be friends.
Yeah.
I went to college with a girl who her senior project was about metal band logos.
Yeah.
And he was one of the people that she talked to a lot about that. as far as like, doing research on that and whatnot. Because, Dennis his name is Dennis Mikula or Mikula. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I imagine he's just a guy that's very knowledgeable about metal in general.
Oh, wait, no, that's not how it went. Bob said they're friends of his. The guy didn't speak.
Oh, he didn't say anything.
I'm remembering things wrongly.
It happens to everybody. Brains are made of mush, and sometimes,
especially mine.
Hey. The song "I Hope Death Finds Me Well." Yes, it's just a ambient piano.
Yeah,
it's nice. It's pleasant.
Yeah, and it's slightly dark.
Slightly dark, like a good bourbon. I don't know.
Sure.
Thinking of things that are slightly dark.
Like a good stout.
I didn't take the time to really look up a whole bunch of reviews for this, so I don't have a score to present as far as what other people think of it. What's your favorite song on this?
My favorite song, I really like Sanguine Mask. I enjoyed that one. What is it? Vein and Sinew?
Sinew and Vein.
Sinew and Vein.
I also was really fond of that one. I really liked A Crystal Lattice, but I wrote down, for me, It Is a Veil as my favorite track on the album.
For It Is a Veil. I also liked the final track. I liked the Fuckering Wicks of Black. I really thought that was a good final track.
Did you say fuckering?
Isn't that what it is? Oh, it's Flickering. Flickering Wicks of Black.
I don't know why every time you say it still sounds wrong. Did you say it wrong intentionally that last time?
Yeah, of course. Okay. No. The last time I said it correctly. I said Flickering Wicks of Black.
It still sounds... Why does it still sound wrong to me? I'm sure you said it right.
I did. Flickering Wicks of Black.
Okay.
It's not fuckering.
I'm reading it as you're saying it, and you're saying it right. Mm-hmm. There is something happening. I might be having a stroke.
That's possible.
That's that. I might
smell anything right now? The end. That was the end.
I was trying to think of something funny to smell to signify having a stroke, but I couldn't think of anything.
That would have been hilarious if that had been the final moment of all the podcasts. Yeah.
Not that we're tired of making it, just like, this is too funny.
Yeah, it would have been a great joke. He just took a sniff and then they were gone forever.
What happened? It's never post on social media again.
Yeah, exactly. Do a funny high falsetto forever on the air. Hi, I'm Carl Bromer.
And I'll be your DJ.
From now on, I'm a new guy.
Oh no. It's just Mr. Bill.
Yeah, it is. Hi, Mr. Hand. Oh no! Hey, Sluggo!
Oh jeez. So what metal are you bestowing upon Self-Loather like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca?
I didn't think this way when I first listened to the first part of it. I'm like, this is good. I enjoy it. But I think the more I listen to it, the more like, this actually gets a gold.
I really have to agree with you.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, I've talked a number of times about how I've bounced off of their earlier music, but they really nailed it with this one.
Yeah.
And I hope that this is a style that they continue to pursue going forward, because I think that it's really like this sort of keening, cry that they do as a vocal, really works for me on this album.
The way
in
it's
ways that it hadn't on any of their other recorded material that I heard before. Mm-hmm. Despite the fact that it's not done any differently, and the production's a bit better than it has been in the past.
Sure.
But that's how things go with bands as they get more popular and that sort of thing, and they are able to spend some more. But like something about the way it's utilized here, or the fact that it's utilized a bit less, a bit more strategically, it works a lot more for me, and I find myself actually liking it. Whereas in the past, I have, whenever I hear that, I go like, come on, don't just do a regular scream. But here I actually like it, and also like, I gotta say, like some of the death growls that are done on this are surprisingly deep and guttural.
Yeah.
Very well done. on some of the like the death growls that are done. Very just really gurgly death growls that I find myself really enjoying. But yeah, that's our discussion of self-lover. Self-lover.
I'm
a self-lover. If you know what I mean.
Because no one else will.
I'm a chronic masturbator. Aren't I so debonair?
Again, he's at the station all alone all week. I'm just saying, I don't know what he's doing there.
Not all alone all week. Just the afternoon.
Just the entire
today
afternoon.
And tomorrow. And only for an hour, up till this point. I have too much work to do.
Right.
To literally sit around and jerk off. Figuratively.
Figuratively, sure. I mean,
but literally, no. Too much on my plate for that. But thank you very much for listening. What are we going to talk about next week?
I think I'm finally going to bring it. I'm finally going to do the
You're
thing.
You're finally going to bring it.
I think.
Fucking bring it, bro.
A band you've never discussed on this podcast. I'd like for you to listen all the way through Ride the Lightning.
All right, by Metallica. Yeah. That's the one. No, Master of Puppets was the one that showed up on the show with the
Stranger Things.
Yeah, the show with the nerdy kids that the people like.
Right.
That I don't watch.
Right. I personally, okay, that's commonly agreed is their third album,
Master of Puppets,
is their best album. I actually like Ride the Lightning better.
Well, that's the one we're going to listen to. We'll listen to Ride the Lightning by Metallica next week. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that.
And it's not because of Stranger Things. I'm not
I know it's not because of that. But it's just I was trying to remember what the thing, because it's whenever that happens, there's a part of me that's just like, don't be a dick. Uh-huh. I'm telling this to myself because I'm not having conversations with people.
No,
but it's like, don't be that elitist asshole that's like, oh, these kids are discovering Metallica through Stranger Things. Oh, this is a fucking, why don't you listen to music like a real person?
Right. And everybody messaged like on social media to James Hetfield like, oh, sorry, they're discovering it this way. And he's like, fuck you. This is awesome.
Why do we give a shit?
Yeah, no, he like doubled down on it. He's playing along with it, and he's.
Although I thought it was, I've seen a couple people make jokes that it would be hilarious because now Metallica songs are getting used a lot on TikTok, and I saw people make some jokes of just like, how hilarious would it be if Lars Ulrich was the one who litigated heavily enough to take down TikTok for using their songs without permission.
I think at this point he's like, oh, we're still relevant.
Lars is in that bad of condition at this point.
He's 90.
Lars aged like 35 years.
Yeah, somehow, yeah. They still want to hear me play my drum.
My drum? He only has one.
He's got. It's an old tom. The head is broken.
All he needs is the one drum and the one cymbal, and then he can play the entirety of Enter Sandman. He just needs...
Or he needs one cymbal and one trash can lid, and he can play the entirety
of Saint Anger.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, next week, Ride the Lightning by Metallica. Until then, find us on Facebook or Twitter if you want to. We'll post new episode links there when episodes come out. Maybe that's your preferred method of being notified that episodes are coming out. Otherwise, just follow us on the Apple Podcast app or on Libsyn's, the podcast source, if you want to download that from your app store of choice. And you'll get your new episodes that way. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ. Congratulations.